They keep accusing Russia of committing horrendous massacres, and then you look into the details and it didn't happen. There's just so much lying going on, right? We have Victoria Nuland on the floor of Congress talking about the biolab.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
And now they try to tell us the biolabs aren't real. They lied to us. They said that Hunter Biden's laptop, oh, that's just Russian propaganda. Now they admit that that's real. They have been lying and 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 lying. And now they won't have a UN meeting to investigate the Bucha massacre. They won't have a UN meeting about it. Why? Well, because the facts don't add up. They have been lying and 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 lying. Meanwhile, Russia told us that Hunter Biden's laptop was real, and it was. Russia told us that there were biolabs in Ukraine, and there are. Russia seems to be telling the truth pretty consistently. And why is Russia telling the truth? Because Russia's just so full of virtue and they're good people? No, because everything Russia says is immediately met with suspicion. If someone is constantly accusing you of lying, you are going to bend over backwards to tell the truth. Whereas anything that U.S. officials fart out, anything that Joe Biden farts out, mainstream media believes. So they get away with it. People lie when they can get away with it. People tell the truth when they're constantly held in suspicion. Whatever Russia says is constantly accused of being, that's a conspiracy theory, that's fake news. And so as a result of that, Russia bends over backwards to prove everything they say. They showed us documents about the biolabs, signed signature. They bent over backwards, not to talk about, they've known about these biolabs for years. They didn't say anything till now because they wanted to make sure it was absolutely true. Meanwhile, U.S. media is making up massacres that didn't happen. U.S. media is making up people that don't exist. I mean, they've been saying the Azov battalion isn't real, and then Zelensky admits it on Fox News and said it's real. We know who's telling the truth here. Russia is telling the truth, and they're telling the truth because no matter what they say, don't believe it, Russia said it. So they're going out of their way to tell the truth. Meanwhile, the United States is just lying and 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 lying because no matter what they say, U.S. media believes it as if it's fact. Oh, the U.S. government said it. It must be true. But now there was a moment on MSNBC that just happened that should show you how ridiculous American media is. Forgive me if you've already seen this tweet, this floating around Twitter. This was a moment that just blew my mind. When I saw this clip, my head wanted to explode. This is why you can't trust American media. I'm about to show you something that this would never have happened. In the 1980s, this wouldn't have happened. In the 1960s, this wouldn't have happened. Anyone who knows anything about the role of the press, all that rhetoric about free press and unbiased and holding leaders accountable, anyone who knows anything about that, anyone who's ever taken a journalism class should see this clip and be full of rage. Because this shows you exactly how screwed up U.S. media is. Watch. I did not fabricate this clip. This is a real clip from American television.
Using intelligence to fight an information war and doing it to Russia for months now, and it's working. NBC News national security correspondent Ken Delaney live in Washington. Ken, I want to start by giving people an example of what this is so they know what we're talking about. Take a look.
They're also suggesting that Ukraine has biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine. That's a clear sign he's considering using both of those.
Can you explain to our viewers what was going on there and what NBC News has learned about that claim this week from 3 different U.S. officials?
Yeah, that was a great example of what we're talking about. That was based on declassified intelligence, but we're also told the intelligence wasn't very clear about what exactly was going on. And they decided to disclose it as a way of deterring Russia from doing that and putting the world on notice that this could happen. And that's what's going on here, the big picture. This is an unprecedented use of declassified intelligence. We've never seen this level of information warfare before from the U.S. government. And what they're doing is they're trying to preempt the Russians, get ahead of Russian disinformation, even mess with Vladimir Putin's brain, as one person put it, leave him off balance to try to show that the United States knows what Russia is up to and is going to get ahead of it. It's really rather remarkable. Another example was when they announced that Russia had gone to China to ask for help with getting some weapons. That hasn't come to pass yet, and it was almost a way of putting China on notice. Hey, we know what's going on here. Don't let this happen. So really interesting and unprecedented use of intelligence here.
All right. So I don't know if you just caught that. Joe Biden lied. Joe Biden said that they thought Russia was going to carry out chemical attacks when they weren't. U.S. media said that Russia had gone to China to get weapons from China when they hadn't. They lied. And instead of going, wow, our leaders aren't telling us the truth, we should hold them accountable, they said, wow, isn't that genius? Joe Biden lied to all of us. He got up in front of the whole world and said things that weren't true. What a guy. Isn't that brilliant? This is insane. The job of the media is to try and get our leaders to tell the truth, to try and hold them accountable. But MSNBC is running clips about, hey, just so you know, Joe Biden just accused Russia of something they were never going to do. But that's good. That's great because it's like spy stuff. It's like disinformation. And, Joe Biden said that Russia was going to buy these weapons from China, and they didn't. And that's just brilliant. They might as well announce, don't ever believe anything we say. Because their job as the media, their job is to try and hold Joe Biden accountable. No matter who's the president, they're supposed to hold them accountable, make sure they're telling the truth. They don't do that. In fact, not only do they let them get away with their lies, after it comes out that they lied, they get on there and go, it's genius. Isn't it great that they lied like that? I mean, it's strategic. It's information warfare. When you turn on CNN, when you turn on MSNBC, when you turn on Fox News, you are not watching news. You are watching information warfare against your brain. That's what you are watching. They are lying. That clip, Joe Biden said false things. And instead of calling him out for saying false things in the middle of an international crisis, they're going, wow, isn't it genius? Because they're on the same team, because they're fighting the same information warfare. This should fill anybody. The most liberal person should be angry about this. The most standard liberal person should go, wait a second. The job of the press is not to enable our leaders to lie, not to do segments about how genius it is when our leaders lie. The job of the press is to find out if our leaders are telling the truth and hold them accountable. Not anymore. That was MSNBC just announcing there, don't believe anything they say. Because if it's a lie and they think it'll benefit U.S. foreign policy or intelligence agencies, they'll tell it. When Joe Biden got up there and lied, they thought that was great. This is utterly horrifying. And it walks hand in hand with, Candace Owens, who's a conservative who I don't agree with. I vehemently disagree with a lot of what she says. Anti-communist, right-wing, awful in so many ways. Pro-imperialist, pro-Zionist. But one thing about Candace Owens is she got up there and she referred, oh my gosh, to Ukraine as a corrupt country. And so she was called out for repeating Russian talking points. And she said, I'm quoting the New York Times, quoting the Panama Papers. They said Ukraine was a corrupt country. Well, yeah, but you can't say that because that feeds an agenda. In media, you're supposed to put your bias at the door. You are supposed to not be pushing an agenda. But these people are so blatantly pushing an agenda that they will get on TV and say, isn't it brilliant that the U.S. government lied? I mean, my God, what else did they lie about? I mean, it sounds to me like they're psyching us up for finding out that a whole lot of the crap they've made up during this Ukraine thing is just completely not true. Sounds like they're getting ready for us to find out they have lied through their teeth a lot throughout this whole crisis, but that's okay because Russia bad. And then you're not allowed to say true things like Hunter Biden's laptop or biolabs or Ukraine is a corrupt country and Zelensky is a corrupt politician. You can't say any of that because even though it's true, it might help Russia. This is insanity. This is utterly insanity. This is utterly insane. And I mean, if anyone doesn't look at that clip and do a double take, I don't know what to say.